Welcome everyone. Welcome back to the F1 house. My name is Sakki, and today we're going to be talking about the latest news in the world of F1. I'm joined by a very special guest. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Steph. I'm from the YouTube channel All About Steph One. So thank you for having me on. I'm really excited.
No problem, no problem. I think firstly I just want to thank everyone because we reached a very big milestone at F1 House, reached 5,000 subscribers. So thank you to everyone that has watched the video, commented, any subscriber that's come along and just kept on coming back to watch the content. I really appreciate it. Um, Next up, 10k. See how quickly we can get there. Maybe by the end of 2021 we can do that. I'll be no Christmas. I'll be an optimist. Be an optimist. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed for
But yeah,
you.
yeah. Let's get started. So I think the first topic of discussion, as per the description, the title, is the $200 million entrance fee that has come about as a result of the new Concord agreement. When I saw this, Steph, I won't lie to you, I was a bit gobsmacked. I was blindsided by it, but I'll save my opinions. I'd love to get your thoughts on it because it's a big number, isn't it? What do you think?
Yeah, it's not just spare change hanging around, is it? No.
No.
You've got to have a decent sum of money then.
Yeah.
I don't think I like it. I've
No.
been weighing up my options, and I don't think I like it. The way that I just think with the budget cap coming in as well, it's making it a lot more accessible for other teams to get in. And as a Formula One fan, I think that we'd all love to see one or two or more teams join the sport in the next few years, in the next
Mhm.
upcoming years, especially with the changes in the regulations. So I just think it's just kind of provided another barrier to entry that is just going to make it even more difficult and even more inaccessible for new teams to potentially even consider entering the sport.
Yeah. I can't. I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's a bit of a weird move, and when I first saw that and I read the articles, there's one from the we I think it's We Are the Race, and then I'll link the others down in the description below. But these were words that came from Zach Brown, the head of McLaren, like from the horse's mouth, someone who knows
Yeah,
what's been agreed in the new Concord agreement, and he didn't really hide anything. It was very protectionist and to put up barriers. They basically
yeah,
trying to protect their investment, their assets, and playing devil's advocate. I can kind of understand. I can kind of see because they've pushed in millions and millions, tens, hundreds of millions of dollars into developing their cars, and they're gonna have to do the same again this year and for the new rule change coming up. And if you see someone come in taking advantage of that budget cap, would you really want them just coming in and stealing your limelight potentially? Like, do you get what I'm saying?
yeah, 100%. Obviously, the teams aren't going to want another team. That's someone who's going to be able to take constructors' money off you. They're going to take points off you. Of course, the teams are going to want as little teams as possible because it
Yeah,
makes their lives way easier. But I don't know, 200 mil seems like a big number. They could have made it a little bit smaller. I think the way that it's going to be distributed as well, because I think the 200 mil is going to be distributed between all of the teams as well. So it's like
yeah,
the teams will benefit if someone decides to come into the sport. So we've got 10 teams at the minute. Imagine if it's distributed equally.
yeah,
That's 20 mil each team. That's a hefty sum of money for a team lower down the order. A team lower down the order like Williams.
yeah,
So yeah, they will definitely be benefiting if a new team decided to kind of come in. So it's like weighing up whether they are going to lose out by having a new team come in, or if they're going to benefit by having that extra sum of cash that they're going to get from this new budget cap thing that's protecting them. I don't
mm.
know.
And yeah, I think you make some good points there. I think when I saw this again, I was just thinking Dorilton must be absolutely laughing because that's just instantly boosted the value of their investment. Because for any new team
Yeah,
wanting to come in, it will be in the 300-400 millions. Like the articles mention, you could probably try and get away with getting into F1 on a budget, but there's no chance of doing that now. Do you think that it will affect any potentials? I know that one of the articles mentioned Campos potentially looking at entering F1. Do you think it will put people off, the people that were interested anyway? Do you think that will kind of sway them?
I'm not quite sure. You think someone like Campos as well, because they're in F2 or F2, yeah. So they've already got kind of a team there, and it's like, well, do you want to make the big jump to F1? But obviously F1 is so much more expensive. So yeah, I do think it would be a deterrent. But I suppose if you're in a lucrative business like F1, it's quite easy to make that 200 mil back if you invest into F1 wisely, and you do well and you pick up constructors points. It won't be long before you make that back. If we think about how lucrative Mercedes F1, their F1 team is, obviously they're winning quite a lot at the minute and they're the big team. But even if you're a team like McLaren in the midfield, like if you're doing well, you're gonna make that 200 mil back. So it's kind of like weighing up whether it's a good enough risk to take, whether you think you're going to make that money back or whether, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is all about weighing up. I'm just going to pause for 1 second and say thanks to everyone joining us in the chat. Got the Understeer podcast and a few other people joining. There's one question in here that kind of leads to my next kind of thought process. Is if a team finishes 11th under this new agreement, what happens? Because I've done a video previously that talks about the payout structure, and with the current payout structure, every team is guaranteed at least some money because it's classified as the top 10 teams get a payout as long as you've raced in the sport for, I think it's 3 years. It might be 2, but I'm going to go 3. So like Haas had to wait quite a while to be paid. So a new team entering now, they'd have to pay that 200-300 million at least, and then what's going to happen? The reason why I'm so surprised is because I know Jean Todt has been pushing for more new teams. He's pretty sure he's been pushing that angle, and this kind of agreement is kind of just scuppering it all. And for me personally, I don't see any new team wanting to enter before another agreement's reached in 5 to 6 years, because why would you want to take that risk? Why would you want to do it? It makes no sense.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't. It's not a safe bet that you. It's not a safe bet at all. And yeah, it's all about risk and reward. But that reward, I don't know. To me, the reward doesn't seem to outweigh the risk. So yeah, if I had a cool 400 mil, I would not be investing right now in a Formula One team because there's absolutely no guarantee that you're gonna have any sort of success. And yeah.
And I think another question that I probably had is, what else have they agreed to?
What I want to know as
well.
What is in this Concord agreement?
Yeah, and I think just from past experience where you don't tend to find out until years after, well into the agreement, it just is kind of, it's a bit scary because it feels like all the teams have just gone into protectionist mode, and the whole idea of trying to change F1 and make it more affordable for new teams, them introducing this has just contradicted that statement. It basically is non-existent.
They've completely gone back on themselves.
They fully admitted, Zach Brown's admitted they want more barriers to entry. This is one example of them putting a barrier to entry in place. So what else have they agreed to? Like literally no one knows apart from who was in that room or in those discussions. For me, it's a little bit worrying for the direction of the sport, given the rule change, because that would have been a prime opportunity for a few new teams to come in. I've been looking forward to it for quite a while now, because you see the same old 10 teams, and I remember several years ago there used to be loads of teams and it was a little bit more interesting. So yeah, it's a bit of a worrying one.
Yeah, it makes me think as well, because teams like Haas, we weren't sure were going to sign the Concord agreement. So what measures have they put in place to kind of keep Haas sweet, or the teams that are lower down the order who are struggling a little bit more? They've put these measures in place, which are going to make it a lot easier for the teams lower down the order to have success in Formula One. And I don't know. It's like, have they put measures in place to ensure that those teams were happier, to kind of protect them from new teams that would come in and potentially be their competition?
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
it's
By the
interesting.
sounds of it, to be honest, I've got a gut feeling that not much has changed in terms of what was there before, because these articles talk about them kind of reducing the inequity, how unequal the payments are, but they only say they reduced them. They don't say that they've
Yeah,
completely revamped it. So I imagine Ferrari still have some sort of legacy bonus. I imagine Williams will have ensured that they secured their bonus
definitely.
purely for the fact that it's a big selling point to their new owners. They could have dangled that carrot in front of their new owners and said, "Listen, this team, you're guaranteed to get however much it is, a £10 million bonus based on the Williams history. Please buy me." And that I believe that's probably written in to the contract. And
Yeah,
just going back to my point about no new teams wanting to come in after this 200 million tag being attached. In the past, it's actually something similar has happened. Basically, a $48 million bond had to come from any new team entering the sport, which actually blew my mind that they've actually done this in the past. So between 1998 and 2007, any new team entering the sport had to
wow.
pay $48 million to, I think, F1, and then it would be held in escrow. They would get the money back with
Yeah, like a
interest.
deposit.
Yeah, like a deposit. But during that period, I think potentially one team entered. It might even be zero,
Mm.
but it had a big impact. And just reading up on these news articles, it kind of shocks me that F1 hasn't learnt from the mistakes. And
Oh, did we ever think that F1 were going to learn from its
I,
mistakes?
I'm an optimist in this sense. Like, I'm always
In this
hopeful.
sense.
In this sense, I'm an optimist. I know that I can be a bit pessimistic and a bit cynical sometimes, but I was actually hopeful that a new team would come into the sport. But do you think it's likely after this?
Um, yeah, I'm not hopeful at all in any sense. I think there were already a lot. Was already not very many prospects. So Campus is the only one that I've read up on most recently.
Mm.
But there was already not a lot of prospects for teams entering Formula One, and a lot of teams have kind of thought about it. Like, I think Porsche was thinking about coming into Formula One, and then it kind of diverted to Formula E, where it's kind of a lot more accessible to get in as well. So I think they only
Mm.
had to pay 25
Yeah,
million.
yeah, that's a good point actually. I think someone's seen this in Formula E and they've been like, you know what, we can make us like a quick buck for doing nothing, absolutely nothing. 25 million in Formula E for a new team. So it's Formula One's,
Nothing.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically taken up the franchise model, which I don't know how that's going to work. Like, you're going to need some big boy investors to come in and basically fund any new team. But like we said at the start, it's adding more value to every ever F1 team currently in the sport. But what happens if one team goes busts and they just disappear?
Then we've got 9 teams on the grid. Could you imagine only 18 drivers? That's not a lot.
No, it's not. But I think one of the main things in there as well is that they put kind of a loophole, saying that it's at their discretion. Yeah. So they can basically just
Discretion.
invite someone along and just waive that fee if they really wanted to. So we'll
Yeah.
see how that pans out. Right, let's move on to the next story. Before we
Okay.
do that, if you're watching, can you hit the like button? If you're not subscribed to F1 House, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Whilst you're at it, Steph, do you want to tell them a little bit about your channel?
Oh. Ah! No, you put me on the spot now.
Surprise.
I only started my channel quite recently, so I'm growing. I'm quite a small creator at the minute with race reviews, lots of opinions. If you head over to my channel, like, you'll get so many opinions, like, right in your face. So yeah, it's all kind of focused on Formula One at the minute, but maybe I'll branch out into the lower formulas. Maybe I'll branch out into Formula E and start talking about that. But yeah, you should definitely all go subscribe.
Yeah, great. Go and check Steph out, guys. Please, please, please do it. She's a great content creator. And yeah, go and check out her stuff. So, Stefano Domenicali,
Yeah.
got that word out. Okay, didn't trip over my own tongue. So he's basically lined up to be taken over as the boss of F1, taken over from Chase Carey. I don't think it's been fully confirmed, but
No, it's not. Yeah.
F1 is so bad at keeping secrets.
Yeah, I know.
They're so bad at this. Do you know what I've realised this year? It's like throughout the whole season, it's been silly season, which is weird in itself. But pretty much every single rumor from the end of last season, apart from Lewis Hamilton,
Has come true.
yeah, has come true. Apart from Lewis going to Ferrari and potentially another Toto rumor, it's
Oh,
they
yeah.
they pretty much come true. And yeah, I'm pretty sure Stefano's going to be taken over as the boss of F1. What do you think about it?
Um, I like it, I think. I
Yeah.
think it's really, really great that we've got someone with a little bit more experience within the Formula One motorsport community, and he has a lot of experience. So, having been with Ferrari for as long as he was, I think it's 26 years that he worked in
Yeah,
Ferrari.
a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
If you know how long he
28.
was at Ferrari, let us know in the comments, please.
Yeah, please do.
Please do. Always
But
willing.
yeah, 6 years as a team principal of Ferrari, like being a team principal of a team is massive, and you learn so much about the ins and outs of everything. So it seems really great that F1 have managed to bag this really experienced and knowledgeable guy about Formula One. But on the other hand, I really don't like it when Formula One just brings in Ferrari ex workers. Like they are just all over Formula One, and I love Ross Brawn, but. And Jean Todt, there's just so many Ferrari people within the Formula One and the FIA at the minute, and I don't like that. Just because does he have a bias? Is he going to come in with an agenda towards Ferrari? That's what I wonder, and I hope he doesn't. And I'm not saying that he will, but it's always a question that you're going to raise when you've got so much loyalty to one team that you've worked with for however long. So, yeah, what do you think about it? How are you feeling? Because I just went on a rant.
Yeah, that. Do you know what? He knows what he's doing. He knows the sport inside out. Like you said, he was at Ferrari for decades. He ran the F1 team. He's gone on to be the CEO of Lamborghini, which isn't any mean task. He knows what he's doing. He's got a lot of experience. He'll be able to translate that in terms of F1. Like you said, it's a little bit mind-boggling just how easy they kind of shift across from Ferrari to wherever they do end up, whether it's in the FIA or F1. But it just kind of confirms even more how much of a kind of old boys club Formula One is. Like I say it a lot to my friends, Formula One is kind of decades behind every other sport. Like, even though the technology that's used, just sometimes the way they operate is very bizarre and very old school. With that in mind, I think it will be a success. I think it will be a success. I know you mentioned the bias factor there, and it will come into play because it's like the Avengers just reforming. It is. Listen,
Right,
Ross
okay.
Brawn, Jean Todt, Stefano Domenicali, yeah, Mattia Binotto is just going to be getting a very easy ride.
Right.
That, yeah, it is. It is going to be. I reckon there'll be a little bit of bias involved because they're just
There
used.
always is when you consider Ferrari. I just think they're so intertwined as well. Like you can't think of Formula One without Ferrari and Ferrari without Formula One. They're just very, very like intertwined with each other, and I think that's what makes it as well so easy for ex-Ferrari personnel to make that jump over to Formula One or the FIA, just because they have such an intertwined, close relationship that it's just so easy for stuff like that to happen.
Yeah, and for me, I don't think it's a case of these people not being competent at all. Like they're very good at what they do, and they've got the technical knowledge for
100%.
it. But maybe a little bit more transparency about what's going on. Like another thought that came to my mind: did he want that job? I think he may have gone for it before they introduced this rule about you're not allowed to work in these top roles without being away from the sport for, or as a boss for 2 years. Like, I'm pretty sure Toto would have been gunning for that role, because I think his kind of desire and drive is non-stop. Like, he always wants to try and better himself. Like that video I did about Toto Wolff recently.
Yeah, I was literally just, I was going to bring that up. Like, I think when you did that video, I literally watched it and was like, Toto is such a machine. And I think he's part of the driving force of Mercedes at the minute, and why they are doing so well, because they are being led by a real leader and a real guy who's always trying to move forward. And I think Toto would have actually been a really, really good candidate for like this job. I think he's brilliant. And he would I always see him as kind of a future of Formula One. So him and Lewis are a great pairing, and I definitely see them kind of working for the greater good in the future. I think Toto would be great at that. He's achieved all that he can achieve with, well, not all that he can achieve, but he's achieved so much with Mercedes. It's like, how much more can you achieve? Where do you go from here? So I think Toto would have been great, but yeah, the rule kind of ruined that. But I can see why they've got the rule in place. It makes sense, so that you don't have any bias, because then you've got, will Toto have a bias towards Mercedes if he's in charge of everything? So yeah, I understand why they've got the rule, but yeah, I don't know how I feel about this yet. I think I'll have to see how it plays out. I'm hopeful that it's going to be good. I'm hopeful that him coming in and the changes in regulations will kind of make the sport a lot more equal and kind of iron out a few of the issues that we've had in the last few years. But yeah, I'm hopeful for this one. I'm not pessimistic.
Do you know what? I don't know what do you... Okay, let me not ask that question just yet. I was about to ask about Liberty Media, but I've got a little bit of confidence in the fact that Liberty seem to be a little bit more structured in the way that they do things. They're very corporate, and they're trying to change things in the sport. And I think having Stefano in that kind of Liberty mold, like, he's not going to be able to just do what he wants. Like, it will be in a corporate frame. Like, he'll have to get things approved. It's not the case of a Bernie Ecclestone, a one-man band, being able to do and say whatever they want. There'll be that corporate structure around whatever he does, which is likely to lead to less bias. Obviously, I think there's always going to be a case of bias involved, especially when it comes to Ferrari. That's just, it's part of the sport. It's ingrained with what they do. It's ingrained with the payments that they get. But I'm hopeful that that won't happen. So we'll just have to wait and see, like you said. And lastly, Eddie Jordan. I don't know if you've been paying attention much to what he's been saying recently. You're pulling those faces, and Eddie deserves those faces. And I mentioned in the last stream that I did with Adam about him saying that Toto should just basically sell up and allow Ineos to buy. He basically predicted that Ineos were purchasing Mercedes, and he's been speaking again, saying it's time for Toto to sell up. I think he's repeated that Ineos are going to be buying a majority stake in the team, and it's just, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, me and Eddie are going to beef. He's trying to get rid of Toto. I'm not about that. I think Toto's such a great person in sport, and it would be such a shame for Formula One to lose him. And I don't think he's the kind of guy that's just going to take the money, sell up his team, and just run. That's not who he is. Like, exactly how you said in your video, he has always strived for as much as he can get. And I don't think he's the type of person that's just going to say, oh, yeah, I'm going to sell up, I'm going to move away from Formula One and live a cushy retirement life. That's not Toto at all. There are obviously the rumours that Toto could be going to Aston Martin to be the team principal, which is actually something that I'd love to see. Even if he decides that he's done all that he wants to do in Mercedes, then I'd love to see him move to another role within Formula One, another team principal role. I don't think his time in Formula One is up, and there's no truth to this whatsoever. I'm not seeing Toto taking his money and just running away from Formula One. Like, he has too much love for the sport. I'm debunking it. It's not happening.
Yeah, okay. You just shut that one down. And just to add what what you've said. Like, I think Toto's worked so hard over the past several years to build his position in F1, build winning teams. I'm not sure why he would sell up completely his position. You're just basically throwing away all your hard work. Um, yeah, I don't want to see Toto leave either. Like, he's my inspiration. Like, what making that video, I learned so much about him.
Aww.
Like, yeah, Toto, if you're watching again, please mentor me. And I've said that already. And then Eddie Jordan also mentioned another thing. He talked about Lewis Hamilton, saying that he should go to Red Bull. I can't believe he said that again. What is he? What is he on? Let me know what you think down in the comments if you're watching. Yeah, let me know what you think. What is Eddie Jordan? I think he might just be bored, because what I want to know is, does he genuinely think Lewis to Red Bull's a good idea, and does he genuinely think having Max and Lewis in the same team is a good idea, or does he just want to see them race in the same equipment? And I think it's the latter of that. He just wants to see
100%.
Lewis and Max in the same team. To an extent, I do, and it will just...
Don't we all?
Yeah, it would settle any debate, but you can't compare these two. For me, Max is extremely young in terms of his career. He's got another 20 years ahead of him. Lewis is coming towards the end of his career. And as good as Lewis is, like, he's not past his best, but he doesn't have that, like, you know, the rookie pace.
He doesn't have age on his side anymore.
Yeah, and you know how drivers come into the sport and they've got that extra bit of energy, extra bit of pace, just like Lewis did when he joined F1, just like Max did and still has to an extent. All these young drivers come through and they have that extra little bit of pace because it's the young gun adrenaline pushing them along, getting that extra bit out of the sport. Hence why Eddie mentioning this about them being in the same team, comparing them, it's got a comment here from Shikule Koza. Eddie's looking for clout and he's just stirring the pot for the sake of it.
Yeah, he is.
Thank you for that comment. And I'm going to agree with that. I'm going to agree because it's so random. It's so random. He's stirring the pot. I might be proved wrong. Like, I don't have a mystic.
No, I don't see that happening. I saw, like, in my stick or twist for Red Bull, I was like, let's be honest, Lewis could go to Red Bull because there's an open seat, but why Red Bull are not going to bring him in?
Do you know what I think it may be? Because similar to the Ferrari rumours last year, because Eddie Jordan plucked up again, I think last year, saying that Lewis is going to race for Ferrari at some point, and he wouldn't be surprised if it happened. Obviously, Lewis was talking to all the teams at that point. I think he said that, and I think it would have been the fact that Lewis was talking to Ferrari when Eddie said this, and it may be the case that Lewis has been talking to Red Bull again because he still hasn't settled on his contract. And you know what, it is best practice to see what's out there. If you're looking for new opportunities or trying to negotiate a deal, you're going to look around. Just like the current, like Haas, Gunther Steiner, they're looking around at all options before they decide to stick or twist. See what I did there?
Hey, I see what you did there.
If you don't get the joke, you might not get the joke. But Steph does a series on her channel about stick or twist in different situation scenarios, whether it's a driver. I think that was your most recent one about Pierre Gasly, right? Yes.
Yep.
So I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I don't see Lewis moving. Why would you do it? It's just...
Why? Why would you do it? You've got a cushy life at Mercedes. They let you do what you want. You've got a teammate who bows down to team orders. Why would you ruin it? Why would you do that?
Yeah, why would you do that? Valtteri Bottas is going to have a tough time this year and next year, but I'm an optimist in that sense. I think all it takes... I'm an optimist. All it takes is for a couple DNFs, because if you think about it, Lewis has had an extremely good run of form. I think last year he didn't have a single DNF.
So why would he start now?
Because laws of probability say that it's going to happen.
Exactly.
I mean, did he DNF recently? I think he did. Can't remember.
Lewis.
Lewis. Did he DNF recently?
Lewis hasn't DNF'd all season, but Bottas dropped out. The only time Bottas dropped out of the points was when he had his tyre that exploded in Silverstone. But other than that, the Mercedes reliability, that's the thing. That's why I don't think Lewis will DNF, because the reliability of the Mercedes is insane. So it's like, if someone crashes into him, then yeah, fairs. But let's be honest, how often do you get the opportunity to crash into someone who's 13 seconds ahead of you down the road?
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't
It just
happen.
doesn't happen.
We just need some more eventful races. That's what we need.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's pretty much it, everyone. Like I said, go and check out Steph's channel, all about Steph 1. Is that right?
Yep, that's me.
Yep, go and check it out. I'll be linking it down below, as well as all the articles that we got this news from. Comment what you thought about our thoughts. Do you disagree with anything we've said? Let us know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you're not subscribed anyway already. And thanks again for helping us hit 5K. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you, everyone.